Well, let's refresh or introduce that concept to the listeners who maybe didn't catch those programs. Love and respect, or read your book on that theme. Talk about the general principle of love and respect and what you're driving at when it comes to gender and what we need.
Right. Well, the University of Washington studied 2,000 couples for 20 years, and they said we now know the two key ingredients for successful marriages. When those two ingredients are present, the marriage succeeds. When they're not present, the marriages fail. Many of us think that if we don't have money problems, in-law problems, health issues, work-related issues, these stressors, if we could remove those, we'd have a happy relationship. But they found out it's our attitude toward each other during those conflicted moments that really is the key. So if I come across hostile or contemptuous to the spirit of the other person, that's when they deflate. I'm stepping on their air hose. Well, I found it intriguing that Ephesians 5:33 said, "Husbands, love your wives, and wives, respect your husbands." And the love and respect dynamic, there isn't a whole lot of debate on that first part of that verse, but the second part, women will say, Dr. Emerson, I don't feel any respect for my husband. He's not superior to me. I'm not inferior to him. I don't want to be a hypocrite and do something I don't feel. He hasn't earned it. He doesn't deserve it. I'm not going to give him a license to do what he wants to do. I'm not going to return to male patriarchy and fear male dominance. I'm not going to subject myself to emotional abuse, lose a sense of my identity or self, or set the feminist team back 50 years. But other than these things, I'm really open to hearing what you have to say about this.
That's a tough intro.
Well, it's what we're up against.
Yeah.
See, the disconnect between what women feel about honor and respect and what you and I as men feel. We serve and die for honor. We don't see it as narcissistic. We honor each other and we die for each other. But when you talk about respecting a man, then that mantra that I just went through is what women feel. And they're not mean-spirited about that at all. Women are fearful that they're going to be unloved in that process, that they're going to be second-rate and second-class. But once we begin to unpack the power of showing respect toward the spirit of a man, not respecting his bad behavior, when you come across honoring to the spirit of an individual, no husband feels fond feelings of love and affection in his heart toward a wife he thinks despises who he is as a human being, any more than a woman is going to respond to her husband who's harsh and angry. There are certain vulnerabilities we all have, but we've kind of removed the male need from the radar screen. And so we put it back on to say, if you want to motivate your husband, the way in which you do that is by meeting a need he has, especially during conflict, and watch what happens. He'll connect with you. He'll move toward you rather than withdraw. 85% who stonewall and withdraw are the males. And he'll stop doing that. He'll stay engaged with you because he thinks you're using the topic as an opportunity to send him a message that you don't like who he is as a human being. And these principles, these wives, Jim, began to apply it to their boys. And instead of these boys withdrawing and stonewalling and just shutting down, the boys were staying engaged. They were actually looking at their mother. They were actually responding. They were actually soft in that response. And the mothers were blown away by that.
Emerson, you talk about that crazy cycle. You talk about that in Marriage with Love and Respect. You've brought that thing. You're describing it. I don't know that you've used the term yet, but make sure that we understand the vocabulary of the crazy cycle.
Right.
You described it with the mom and the teenage daughter, that they're fine until their next eruption. That's the crazy cycle, right?
Well, the crazy cycle that we talk about between husband and wife is without love, she reacts in ways that feel disrespectful to him. She's not trying to be. That's how he processes that conflict. When a man feels disrespected, he ends up reacting in a way that feels unloving to her, like stonewalling, pulling back. And that same dynamic happens between a mother and her son. They're not married, but it's a male-female issue far and above being a husband-wife issue. And as that boy moves into manhood, mothers and sons get on that crazy cycle, and we're coaching mothers on how you can jump off of that much more quickly.